All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a story that is just wild. We're talking about a thread that connects a top-secret government UFO investigation, a divine being that shows up throughout ancient history, and a very specific prophecy, one that points to April 25th, 2026.
So you've got a UFO encounter, an ancient religious text, and a date just a few years away. What in the world connects them? Well, the thread that ties all this together starts with one man's really bizarre and totally life-altering experience.
Okay, so let's start back in 2007. There's a man named Chris Bledsoe, and he's just out fishing near North Carolina's Cape Fear River. And what he saw that night, well, it didn't just change his life. It kicked off a chain of events that, believe it or not, are still playing out today.
So Bledsoe says he saw these pulsating orbs, these strange beings. But honestly, the most astonishing part wasn't what he saw, it's what he says happened to him. Get this, after the encounter, a chronic illness he'd been suffering from for years just vanished, gone. And this event sparked what he describes as a huge spiritual awakening.
And you know, this wasn't just some one-and-done thing. Oh no, this kicked off years of unexplained phenomena happening right there on his property. And it wasn't long before it started attracting some really serious attention. I'm talking from the absolute highest levels of the US government.
Yeah, this was not some fringe mystery. We're talking about official interest from NASA, the CIA, the military, the whole shebang. According to the reports, the Bledsoe case was allegedly the very first one investigated by ATIP, the Pentagon's secretive UFO program. And apparently the investigation went all the way to the top. An intelligence contractor supposedly briefed President Barack Obama himself on what was happening.
Now, at the very center of all this mystery is an entity that Bledsoe calls the lat'D. And this, right here, is where a modern-day UFO story starts to get tangled up with a much older one.
So the lat'D apparently told Bledsoe that she's a figure who has popped up all throughout human history. She's been known by a ton of different names: Hathor in Egypt, Ishtar over in Babylonia, Sophia in Gnostic traditions, and some researchers even think there's a connection to more recent events, like the super famous Marian apparition at Fatima in Portugal. So here's the kicker. This wasn't just Chris Bledsoe's interpretation. Even the government investigators, guys like Timothy Taylor, allegedly came to believe they were dealing with the exact same powerful ancient entity, which, of course, leads to the big question. Is this being good, or is it something else entirely?
And this is exactly where the story just splits right down the middle. You've got two totally different narratives. On one hand, you have the story of this divine messenger, bringing healing and light. But on the other hand, you have these ancient texts that are screaming with warnings about a powerful deceiver. This really gets to the heart of the whole conflict, right? Bledsoe's personal experience points to this benevolent, healing force, what he calls the divine feminine. But then you look at these ancient texts, and they tell a completely different story. The book of Jeremiah warns about a queen of heaven who led people astray. The book of Enoch connects her to unrighteousness. So which is it? A source of creation or a source of deception?
So, from the perspective of the person actually living it, the experiencer, the encounter is sacred. It just is. These beings are seen as angels, as divine messengers. It's a direct parallel, really, to how those kids at Fatima interpreted what they were seeing.
But then you flip the coin. From a theological perspective, one that's rooted in these ancient texts, those exact same names carry a really stark warning. This point of view says that, historically, this entity has always been a source of deception. It leads civilizations away from the truth, not toward it.
So this major conflict between these two interpretations, it leads to something pretty remarkable, a specific, testable prediction. We're talking about a prophecy that points to a single date, and it's in our very near future.
Bledsoe claims the lat'D gave him a very specific sign to watch for in the sky. He says that in April of 26, the star Regulus is going to appear on the horizon, right in front of the Sphinx, and it's going to look red. This event, she supposedly told him, would mark a major shift into a new knowledge.
Okay, so is there any actual astronomical basis for this? I mean, is this a real thing? The answer is yes. Astronomers have a name for it, a lunar occultation. It's a very precise event where the moon passes directly in front of a star, from our point of view here on Earth.
And here's the verifiable fact of the matter. On April 25, 2026, the moon is going to pass directly in front of the star Regulus. This isn't speculation, it's not a maybe, it's a known, predictable astronomical event. The prophecy lines up perfectly with the clockwork of the cosmos. Pretty crazy, huh?
So, what are we supposed to take away from all this? I mean, what we have here is just an incredible convergence of these totally separate threads, and they're all pointing to a single moment in time.
Think about it. Let's just recap the threads real quick. You've got one man's profound personal story of healing and contact. You've got a documented investigation by top-level government agencies. You've got an ancient, recurring figure from world religions and myths. And, to top it all off, a specific prophecy that is tied to a verifiable, predictable celestial event.
So, what are we actually going to be looking at on April 25th, 2026? Is it just the clockwork of the cosmos? A massive coincidence that happens to connect one man's story to an ancient myth? Or is it the arrival of a long prophesied event? And if it is it going to be a moment of divine revelation or one of grand deception? That right there is the question we're left with.